welcome to the Celebrate Waukesha breakfast. I guess I'm going to start just by saying that I'm thankful that yesterday turned out as well as it did. It was obviously a horrifying day for many students and terrifying for many, many parents. But the end result is something to be thankful for. We obviously had our police department and the school district knew what they were doing, and to have only one person injured and to end up where we did, like I say, I'm very, very thankful for that. So. I also need to add that our fire department it was up there, and they were also involved in this situation and having to deal with everything there too. So I thank our fire department also. This is our biggest crowd. So I'm very happy you're all here, and as I always say, I think more gets done in between 7:30 and 8 for the entire community than it does once I start speaking. We have quite a few elected officials here. We have Senator Chris Kapenga, representatives, and let's clap at the end because we got a lot of them. And we don't want uneven clapping anyways. So we have Senator Chris Kapenga, Representative Scott Allen, the County Executive Paul Farrow. Yeah, if you want to raise your hand. So we also have Waukesha County Supervisors Mike Crawley and Dwayne Paulson. And from the office of Senator Tammy Baldwin, we have Vanessa Yanis. And from Senator Ron Johnson's office, we have Ginger Kolzmanberger. We have quite a few Common Council members. Kathleen Cummings, Don Paul Brown. Is Steve Johnson here? Sorry. Lenny Miller and Aaron Perry. And I hope I didn't miss anyone. We also have Brian Running, because he's an elected city official. Sometimes I even forget that he's elected, but we have Brian Running, who's an elected city official. I want to thank Tuscan Hall for once again putting on a great breakfast for us in this beautiful building. I get so many comments from people when it's the first time that they're here. They were unaware of the building, and they are just enthralled by it. Our centerpieces were put together by Helping Hand Senior Group. That's through our Park, Recreation, and Forestry Department. It's a group of people that are looking for things to do, and we've decided to give them something to do, and they make our centerpieces for us. Like I already said, our North High School Jazz Combo and their director, Thomas Battersby, were our entertainment this morning to put us in the Christmas spirit. Thank you very much. And I'm glad to see that the students are eating. So I wasn't sure. I actually didn't know whether they were going to be fed or not, so I'm glad they are. Our sponsor today is Liberty Mutual Insurance. We are able to do these things because we have sponsors, and I really thank Liberty Mutual Insurance. So with that, I want to have John Walsh come up, John, to speak on behalf of Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to first thank Mayor for giving Liberty Mutual the opportunity to sponsor the Celebrate Waukesha breakfast event. Appreciate that. We were very excited about the opportunity. A little bit about myself. My name is John Walsh. I manage Liberty Mutual's public entity segment. We insure cities and counties, towns and townships throughout the country. Currently, we write the workers' compensation coverage for the city of Waukesha. Today, I would like to recognize our 38-year partnership with the city of Waukesha. I would also like to recognize our broker partner, Arthur J. Gallagher. Linda Joski's team does an outstanding job of managing and servicing the city of Waukesha account. So we appreciate all her efforts as well and her team. So 38 years is a long time for any partnership. So and to get us to the point where we're at today, a lot of collaboration, right? There's a lot of decisions that need to be made over the years. Some are easy, some are challenging, but working together is what we got, is how we got here today. So we're proud with this long-term relationship, and we want this to continue. I'd like to quickly introduce the Liberty Mutual team that services your account. First, Debbie Romansky, she's our client service manager, so she's the conduit to Arthur J. Gallagher and the city of Waukesha for any service-related issues. We look to get them resolved as quickly as possible. Rob Johnson's our risk control engineering, servicing your account. And then finally, Phil Manican is the underwriter on the account. So again, thank you for all your efforts and work on the account as well. So today, I'm excited to be able to sponsor not only this breakfast, but also donate to the food pantry of Waukesha County. We're going to present a check.
Yeah, come on over here. Karen Treadwell, could you come up? You can go back.
So we have a check here for the food pantry of Waukesha County in the amount of $250 we would like to present to you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So Liberty Mutual is very active in the state of Wisconsin. I know we're representing public entity. Liberty Mutual insures over 3,000 business accounts within the state in a variety of different industries, such as retail, wholesale, construction, hospitality, manufacturing, and we're excited about that. And we want to continue to work with not only the city of Waukesha, but the state of Wisconsin to increase and develop those partnerships as well. So, lastly, I just want to thanks again to Mayor Riley for having us here, and we look forward to our continued partnership. Thank you.
So my first question to John was whether they brought the emu, and it's out in the car. So I now want to introduce Kevin Lehner. He had a rough day yesterday. He has 2 children at Waukesha South. Kevin, our city administrator.
I'm going to keep this very short and brief. It's a weird experience when you're in a position like mine where your professional life and your personal life intersect in such a weird way in a very short time frame. And I was going to try to keep it together, but apparently I can't in front of everybody. So, but I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you, and particularly to the police department and the fire department and the SROs and the school district for responding the way they did. All 4 of my kids were on lockdown at 3 different schools yesterday. And I'm just so proud of our folks, of how we responded and how this community has stepped up to support our children yesterday and will continue to support the children. So I was going to talk about City Hall and redevelopments and stuff, but we can save that for another day. And I'm just very proud of this community and just want to thank particularly the police department for how they responded yesterday. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin, and that kind of drives home the point that yesterday was very, very difficult for both the kids and the parents having to deal with that. We have one final thing before we start our topic of the day. And Corey Montiel, could you come up real quick and provide a little explanation of the Housing Action Coalition's program?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for a brief few moments of your time this morning. I'm here on behalf of the Board of Directors for the Housing Action Coalition of Waukesha County. Our acronym is HACC. It's terrible, but it's what I have to deal with, so I'll refer to it as HACC. HACC's mission for the last number of years has been, among other things, to address and try to alleviate homelessness in our city and in our county. One of HACC's biggest projects over the last number of years is dealing with what we call overflow. It's when all the shelters in the city are full, and on the worst nights, the coldest nights, the worst weather, there are individuals in our community that simply don't have a place to go. So HACC has worked tirelessly over the last number of years to have overflow shelters. Throughout the years, we've had one at the old Northview School, some churches, but having an inconsistent overflow shelter has caused numerous problems. So HACC, about a year or so ago, purchased the old firehouse on Century Avenue in Waukesha. As of last year, we opened that and operated that for a few months as an overflow shelter, which has been and was very successful. Our HACC shelter at the Overflow Center is now open. It opened December 1 of this year, and it will be operating through the end of April of this year. We house about 20 women and children, women and families as we like to call it. HACC's mission, as I mentioned, is to deal with homelessness as a whole, but I'm not here to talk about that today. We're talking a very specific aspect of that population who lives in our community, the women and children. We have funded our overflow shelter for December of this year, but we have not funded it for January, February, March, or April. It's about $20,000 per month. I met with the other board of directors, who a number of them are in the room. I see Michael Egley, Father Simmons, Joan Francoeur, Mayor Riley, Alderman Joe Piper, Joe DeMars, and I apologize, I'm forgetting some other individuals, Judge Lau. And we tried to brainstorm who we knew, who we could reach out to. And one of our members, I don't recall who, said, wouldn't it be great if we could get everybody who is the most influential people in the county and the most influential people in the city in one room? So here I am, and because here you are. What I'd love to do is see if you would be able to direct your attention to the flyers on the tables in front of you. There's half sheets that list what Housing Action Coalition does. It talks about our overflow shelter on Century Avenue. I won't be bold enough to ask you today to open your pocketbooks and donate, but if you're so inclined, any of the members of the board will gladly take your checks this morning. But I'd rather ask and politely ask that we need your help. Each one of you are in this room for a reason. You have a sphere of influence that allows you to reach many, many people, many more people than I could possibly reach, or any of our board members. So if you could please go to those individuals in your organizations or your spheres of influence and see if any of your organizations have the ability to help us fund our overflow shelter. It's awfully important. The issue of homelessness runs the gamut from those who are doubling up or couch surfing to those who make the police blotter, the chronically homeless with deviant behavior. We're not trying to solve this whole thing at once. We're trying to solve this one issue, this one problem that directly affects our city today. So if you're in a giving mood, or you know a company that is in the giving mood, I'm basically begging you to try to reach out and see what you can do to help. Please contact us directly at HACC. Our contact information is on the flyers, or grab one of the board of directors or the mayor. Not that he isn't busy enough, but it would be much appreciated. If you need help, if you need one of the board members to come to your organization and sit with you, I'll do it. I can't speak for the rest of the board members, but I guess I will. We'll also be there. If you want to put a dunk tank in your backyard or your company's parking lot and dunk me, I'll do it. So it's something I think we can solve. The resource, yep, in January, that's fine. I'm not shy. So I thank you for your time. I'm sorry to interrupt, and I appreciate the mayor's indulgence this morning. So happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. So now we're going to get to the topic of the day, and what it is a roundtable with myself, Tony Mellinger of Metal Era, and Todd Zareski of Husco. If you want to make me kind of upset, talk about Waukesha as being a suburb of Milwaukee. I really don't like that because I grew up in Waukesha, and Waukesha has had its own identity forever. And I think in large part because of manufacturing. I worked in a couple manufacturing plants when I was younger in Waukesha, and like I say, growing up in Waukesha, and I'm getting up there in age, you know, manufacturing has always been a big base for the city of Waukesha. So what we're going to do today, and I'd ask Tony and Todd to come up and have a seat, and no, we're not getting married. And we're going to talk about manufacturing in Waukesha. So you guys, come on up. Make sure you know.
I have to scratch suburb off of my notes here.
So this is a little different than what we've done in the past. Usually we just have a speaker, but I think roundtables are always something that is much more informal and also provides a lot of times a lot more information. So what I'm going to do is we'll start with Tony. Please introduce yourself and describe your company.
Sure. Tony Mellinger, President and CEO of Metal Era, family-owned company located right here in the heart of Waukesha. I'm second generation. What we do, I like to think we make products that help solve problems for commercial roofs. So we're kind of glorified sheet metal fabricators. We take flat sheets of metal and cold metal, we form them into shapes. Those shapes go onto commercial roofs. So we have three main product lines. Our first and biggest is our roof termination products. So the best way to describe this is next time you're walking around or driving and you see a Target, a Lowe's, a Home Depot, we do 80% of all the McDonald's in the country, schools and universities. You look up at that top of that roof edge, there's typically a metal component there, and that serves two main things. One is performance. It's the first line of defense in any wind event. So our products are made to hold down the roof system. Secondly, it's made to look pretty. So we specialize in making sure that quality's there and it looks good. It's the only thing you see from the ground level. Our two other major product lines are drainage products. We help move water off the roof and into another location through gutters and downspouts and things like that. Then we have a line of ventilation products. So those ventilation products help facilitate air in and out of the roof. So the best thing to do is if you guys ever experience ice dams in your homes, well, those ice dams are typically formed because of the lack of cold air that's coming through your roof to exhaust the hot air that's melting that snow at the underside of the roof sheathing. So what we do is we help facilitate the air, enough air in and out of that roof system. We sell all over the country. We have about 180 employees and north of about 60 million.
All right, thank you. Todd, same question.
Yeah, Todd Zakreski, I'm the president of Husco Automotive. We are also a privately owned company. The Ramirez family owns Husco. We are a design and manufacture electromagnetic and hydraulic controls. My division for the automotive industry. So if you're driving a Ford or a Chrysler or a GM vehicle, the odds are you have a part in it or parts in it that are made right here at Waukesha. On the off-highway side of the business, we supply the same different types of hydraulic controls, electromagnetic devices for Caterpillar, for John Deere. So if you're driving around and you see an excavator, or a backhoe loader, or a forklift truck, there's a high probability that that product has been made was made either in Waukesha or in our facilities in Iowa. And so we've been in the site that we were located at, across from the airport in Waukesha, since the original founder of Husco, Dana Schneider, purchased 7.5 acres in 1954, and have been here ever since.
So how many, I guess, you asked me not to surprise you at all, but I guess, how many employees are working at Husco and how many in Waukesha and how many work at Bel Air?
Sure. So I'll start. There's about 400 or so people in the Waukesha facility at the moment, and mostly that is it's our world headquarters. So we'll have our engineering groups and all of our corporate operations there, and then a significant amount of manufacturing for the automotive division.
Yeah, we've got, out of our total about 180, we've got about 170 that are outside or in Waukesha itself.
So both of those are big employers in the city of Waukesha. In fact, in Waukesha, 5 of our 10 largest employers are manufacturers. Pretty sure Husco is in there. Todd, could you tell me what makes Waukesha a great place to do business?
Sure. I think one of the big elements for us is the proximity to some amazing educational institutions. And when you just look at the list of colleges that we have in this area, it's phenomenal. And the ability for us to bring on board engineers and various expertise from these institutions is just super critical for us, given our product is a highly engineered device. So that's a big deal. And then certainly, as you mentioned earlier, Mayor, that Waukesha itself is just a spectacular community for raising a family. The educational system here is solid, and the county and the city and the town are run extremely well. Was that right, Paul?
Touche. Tony?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Todd had to say. You know, the pull from the education institutions is huge. We're seeing it. It's only going to get worse as you see companies like Foxconn and other companies come in, drawing your talent. You've got to be able to keep that pipeline going. So that's critical. Otherwise, I grew up in this area. I went to Catholic Memorial. It is just a great place to live and work and play, and the location couldn't be better. I've got a pretty big radius where I'm drawing all my employees from the east, west, north, and south, and it's a very central location that makes it really, really easy for our employees to get to, which makes it helpful in trying to recruit talent and so forth. And then, back to how it's run, the taxes, everything else, it's really a good spot for us, and we're happy. We've been here. We're celebrating our 40th year next year, and we've been in Waukesha all 40 years, so we're real happy with that.
Great. I've toured many of the manufacturing plants in Waukesha, both Husco and Metal Era, among others, and it is surprising. Like I said, I used to work at Alloy Products when I was 20 years old, and the plants of 40 years ago are not the plants of today. They're very clean, they're well lit, a lot more computers in them than lathes and all that, but it is amazing. I guess if I hadn't been mayor, I wouldn't have been able to realize how much our manufacturing processes have changed. And it's amazing. And the other thing I think is in Waukesha, our manufacturing jobs pay family supporting wages, whereas the retail and food service industry do not always pay living family supporting wages. So with that, it's basically saying manufacturing is so great, which it is. Maybe both of you can also say what challenges are facing you, and also what Waukesha can do to make manufacturing better for our manufacturing plants. Tony?
Yeah. To be honest, there's a lot of competition here, and it's great competition. There's a lot of great companies in this area. So the challenge there is, how do you get better, and how do you be better, and how do you offer your employees, a better place to work, and that can be challenging at times, especially when there's a lot bigger companies out there than what you are. So you've got to be creative to do that. So it's a good problem to have, and it keeps you on your toes. You know, that's one of the things we see. The other things that I see is, you know, especially with unemployment like it is now, being able to draw talent from a lot of different areas. You know, it's great when you can get an employee who has a car and can be self-sufficient, but if you've got to start pulling from a talent pool that can't get there, it's how do you connect the different areas through transportation and so forth that makes it easier to be able to get employees into your shop. I'm sure Todd's dealing with the same thing. It's our biggest problem right now is finding the right talent and holding on to them. It's just because the pool isn't big enough. So how do we begin doing that and drawing in that talent? The other and third thing is we've got a lot of employees who, you know, are nearer retirement than coming in, right? And getting that next generation excited about manufacturing. And I'm really excited about a lot of things that Waukesha is doing. And I know Husco and Metal Air has been members of an organization called MADE, and that stands for Manufacturing, Automotive Design, and Engineering, and it's a partnership between the local high schools and I think it's 10 or 11 businesses in Waukesha County. And what we do is we pair each other together, and we help with trying to give real-world solutions and problems to high school students who are interested in this stuff, and it's just been a great program for us. So the challenge here is how do you get more kids excited about manufacturing? How do you get them excited? Because things aren't like how they used to be. And what Mayor said, I've got 5 robotic cells in our facility. It's clean, everything's computerized. It's just not like what everybody envisions it. So how do you get more people excited about manufacturing as we continue forward?
And is the focus on the high school graduates or college graduates, or is it both?
It's honestly both. One of the high school graduates are great, getting them familiar at the junior level, the senior level. But we're having great success with the dual enrollment program through WCTC as well. So, you know, jumping from high school to WCTC taking classes, I think we've got 6 or 8 kids right now working through us through that program. And that is, that's helping us, get people.
Real quick, I have a joke, and please don't take it the wrong way, but it must be a Democrat. So. I think that's Henny Youngman.
So the other big thing that's really made a lot of impact is the Manufacturing Integrated Data Center, or Manufacturing Center that WCTC put on a few years ago. That's helping create the talent that we're able to pull from. So it's a combination of a lot of things, plus, all of the other major universities and what they're doing. So.
All right, Todd?
Yeah, I think Tony really covered a lot of the key points there. The only thing I'll just add to that is that, in a kind of bigger picture space, it's really important that the communities and the business community really focuses on innovating in this space, because the world is changing really fast, right? I mean, there's disruption everywhere. And when it comes to human resources, when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to identifying the people that are going to fit in your business and your culture, you really have to think about what can I do that's going to differentiate me, whether I'm a community or whether I'm a corporate entity, from what's around me. When you look at a community, you really could take a play out of the corporate playbook, and that is, you're recruiting people. You're competing with Brookfield, Wauwatosa, all these other communities. So, you have to attract the talent. And how do you attract the talent, the people that make a community, that create the fabric of a community? And so, I think you have to think about that. We have to do it every day. I'm sure some of you may have seen Austin recently announced a scholarship program where we're going to pay 100% of tuition, working with the University of Wisconsin in Platteville. People who qualify for this scholarship, they'll be gainfully employed at Husco, a full-time job, and they'll have 100% of their of their tuition paid. You know, we're trying to find ways like that to not only diversify our business, but also to bring that talent into the business. So I would only just add to say that I think as a community, you know, we have an amazing captive audience in this area, right? With all of the 4-year and 2-year schools that we have here, the opportunity to be able to impress upon these young people what a great community Waukesha is, and be able to leverage that to get these young people to not just want to work in Southeast Wisconsin, but actually to want to live here in Waukesha. And I think we collectively can work together between the businesses and the community to create innovative ways to do that.
Real quick, Paul, can you hear us in the back? Yeah. Okay, good. So in Wisconsin, 20% of its employment is in manufacturing, which is the second highest manufacturing jobs in the United States. And the only state that's higher than us is in Indiana, which is 21% of its employment is in manufacturing. Manufacturing in Wisconsin employs almost 500,000 people, and it pretty much puts Wisconsin on the global stage as our manufacturers pretty much compete globally. With that, Todd, what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years for your company? And I'd ask you to even speak globally, because I know you pretty much compete globally.
Yeah, there certainly is a need to really continue to find ways to attract and young people into this space. And global competitiveness really is going to be dependent, and always has been, on people, right? I mean, in manufacturing, people, we might have lots of robots, we might have lots of automation, but in the end, there's people who are designing those systems, there's people who are programming them. You know, the foremost thing that we need to do is make sure that our young people, and when I say young people, I'm going all the way down into elementary school, programs like the STEM programs and the School of Skills programs that Mary worked on when she was with the Waukesha County Business Alliance. Those are great programs that introduce these young people to technology, to introduce them to science, the math, the things that made this country great back in the Industrial Revolution. So we need to continue to do that. We need to also continue to work with our leaders in government and Congress to make sure that we are working on a level playing field, that we are globally competitive. You know, tariffs do not make us globally competitive. Our competitors are in places like France and Germany, and they do not pay tariffs, and that's doesn't work for a global company like us.
What about new products in the next 5 to 10 years? I don't think there's anyone from the media here, so you can say whatever you want.
Well, the only thing I will say in that space is that, you know, being in the auto industry has been an amazing time. The disruption that's happening in terms of the vehicles, right? The battery electric vehicles, the hybrid vehicles, all great things for the world, right? In terms of reducing emissions and improving the fuel economy. And for us, new products are going to continue to find ways to improve fuel economy, reduce emissions, whether that be in a gas vehicle, whether that be in a battery electric vehicle. If you name a vehicle manufacturer today, we're working with them. It's exciting. It's a great industry for a young person to jump into who wants to really make a difference in the world. Our technology today saves close to 1 billion gallons of gasoline in the systems that we a year that we participate in. So we're excited about that, and I think for young people, that's kind of an area that I think they would we're especially gravitate to.
Thank you. Tony, what about Metal Era for the next 5 to 10 years? New products, growth, maybe you can...
Yeah, if I look at our big focuses, innovation is one of the biggest, and we're putting a lot of time, resources, and money into one is the talent, is getting the right people in there that can help us think differently. I always laugh. The roofing industry is literally the slowest, oldest industry in probably known to man, but it's great for companies like ours because when you innovate, it puts you on a different level. So for us, we got to continue doing that. We've got to continue bringing out products that help save time and labor. Labor is a major issue for us and the entire construction industry. So how do you produce products now that will allow a contractor to get on and off that roof quicker? How do you create products that are more sustainable, that will last forever instead of the life of a roof, which could be 10 years, 15 years? How do you do these things that just make it easier and make more sense? So innovation is a critical thing, and then it's thinking more globally. Even though our reach globally is probably into Canada, we've got to get closer to our customers. So, this whole Amazon effect, it's not only with, consumer-based products, it's with business-based products too. So how do we begin getting to ways that I can get products in my customers' hands within a day, within 2 days? And that's what we're kind of focused on over the next couple of years. And that can be done a lot of different ways through different manufacturing facilities, to warehousing, to distribution, to a lot of different ways. But those are the things we're focused on because it's just the way the world's going. Everybody wants it yesterday, and companies like ours aren't any different. So we got to start thinking differently.
Yeah, for the present City Hall, quite a few comments I got is you can't have a flat roof on your new building, which I find somewhat amusing because flat roofs can work just as well as regular slope roofs and all that. And maybe you can comment on the evolution of the flat roof over the last 40 years.
Sure. Well, I'll put it to you this way.
They're better?
I wouldn't say necessarily they're better. They're cheaper. So 100 years, 200 years ago, most roofs were all asphalt based, right? They're asphalt based and they layered it, and it was a process that lasted for a long, long time. What's happening now is you're finding the majority of roofs out there, and the roofs that are growing in market share are rubber roofs and plastic roofs. So it's materials called EPDM, it's materials called PVC and TPO, thermoplastics and polyvinyl. Those products are making it easier to manufacture, it's making it cheaper to manufacture, but the life of those roof systems aren't lasting like they used to. So what you're seeing is some good roofs, but the life of those roofs are maybe an average of 10 to 15 years instead of probably 20 to 30 at one point. So I'm not complaining because I like to sell a new roof every 15 to 20 years instead of 30, but that's it. So there's been a lot of technology. I mean, a company, you talk about innovation, a company in our industry just brought out a Velcro roof, literally a roof that is Velcro, and they're starting to gain some traction out there. So it's definitely changing, and I wish the adoption period was a lot shorter than what it is, but things are changing, even for an industry like ours.
All right, well, I learned something there. Either you guys got anything else to say? Otherwise, I'll open up to questions.
No, just thank you, Mayor.
Any questions? If Larry Nelson was here, he would immediately have his hand up. Go ahead, Kathleen.
Roofs used to be so they would fire department. So if you have you talk about evolution, you've got California, you've got the Midwest. How does the asphalt versus copper versus all those for fire? Because I thought there was an element of fire protection when it began to look back in the day.
Yeah, and there still is. So the building code calls for, I don't know the exact regulation, but yeah, all of the membranes that are sold have to withstand a certain amount of fire rated protection. So if it's 3 hours, 4 hours, all of that. So that's the entire system, from the insulation to the membrane to everything else on top of that roof. So it's still a factor, and it's actually, all of the testing is getting more and more stringent. And it's getting harder to produce products that actually fit onto the building code. So the products that are going on your buildings are better, they're stronger, and than what they were, back then.
Is there an advantage of having on those flat roofs, having plant materials, gardens on top? Do they help with the heating or
Yeah.
transmission?
Yeah, so garden roofs are a great way to go about it. It's not the cheapest way, but one of the things they're trying to do is the urban effect. So when you've got a black roof, which is basically a rubber roof, all of that heat basically gets back into the atmosphere. So garden roofs allow you to be able to absorb that and hold that in, which is really good. But then, you kind of look at it and you're saying, okay, now I'm absorbing how many hundreds and thousands of gallons of water on my roof, and is it, designed properly? And so there's a lot of, and the other thing that's happening is typical roofing contractors aren't doing those jobs. They're like landscapers. So there's a lot of challenges, I think, around that, but I think it's great. I think technology's probably got to come a little bit farther in the way it's all installed and so forth. But I think the more you can use rooftops, for gardens and things like that, all the better.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of change up in the mutual as a result of like millennial generation, for example, in our exterior home employees. So how has that generation changed how you're
The question is how has millennial, the younger generation, changed how you look at your employees or how you interact with your employees?
It's changing drastically. We're just updating everything from employee handbooks and all of it is, we're changing our entire view of how we approach things from what we did. Getting that generation, they expect more, they want more, and it's going beyond what we're just normally used to. So we're seeing a lot of things change on that. Even companies like ours, where we thought we definitely had to have people working in our facility to be able to be productive, that's not really the case anymore. We're willing to look at someone who can work remotely from home, because it's all about the talent, it's all about the skill set. How do you get the right people? It doesn't necessarily matter with technology. You can be in the same room even though you're 1,000 miles away. How do you use that to your advantage? And I think that's where companies have to get to, no matter what industry you're in.
I think just for my comment is we're also finding, at least in municipal government, that vacation time is more important than pay to a certain degree. Where more people, the younger people are more concerned about having more time off than they are having pay increases. Todd?
I think just the one thing I would add to that too is just there really needs to be a match with the individual, what they prioritize is what's important to them in your culture. And if you make a mistake with somebody, generally speaking, it's not because they don't have the competencies, they don't have the skills. It tends to be because there's something that just doesn't jive with them in terms of your culture. And so it's really important that when you bring somebody on board, that you understand your culture, you understand what they prioritize in their life as what's important to them in a career, and make sure that there's that connection. If that's missing, or you miss something in that, it doesn't matter how many ping pong tables you have or exercise facilities, they're gonna bail out on you.
I'll echo that too. We deem culture the #1 priority in a new candidate. If there's not a fit, I don't care how skilled that individual might be, if they don't fit our culture, they won't last. They just won't. So before they even meet a hiring manager, they go through a culture interview, every candidate for ours, and that's, you know, 3 individuals that don't have anything to do with that hire that go through questions that determine whether or not we think they can fit into our culture. So culture is critical. You know, you're now mixing in so many different generations. How do you do that, and how do you do it in a way that everybody can be engaged and enthused and so forth?
Other questions?
I kind of have, this was for Todd. I'm Mary Jane, and I had a son in the Engineering Academy at Waukesha South and went on to Madison as a first-year engineering student and switched to economics. But, however, I was looking for internships for him for the summer. I contacted Husco, and they directed me to Platteville because that's where they work with their internships. But as a marketer, my question is, well, first of all, that was a lost opportunity because nobody ever contacted us back to get him into the work stream. But what are the companies doing individually or collectively to bring in either internships or kids that are in between, you know, their schooling and their careers to get them into manufacturing?
Sure. Where's my HR recruiter over there, Jesse? How convenient. Yes. So we have one of the biggest intern co-op programs probably in the state. Every year we have 30 plus interns and co-ops in our facility. We have a huge program. We send Jessie and her team to just about every school that you can imagine in Wisconsin, in addition to in Iowa, in Indiana, bringing in these kids, introducing them to manufacturing. You know, I certainly should apologize if we didn't connect to your son the way we should have, but nonetheless, that is the way to connect with your future employment base, especially in the professional positions like engineering, finance, for example. Those 30 co-ops or 30 interns and co-ops combination really are where we get the vast majority of our positions from. So the system that we have every year, twice a year, and our recruiting teams go out to the schools, they post at the schools. On top of that, in the high schools, we have open houses. Just about 2 months ago, we had a huge open house. We had some 100 plus kids that came through the facility, got to see the manufacturing site, had their parents with them, and this was at 6 o'clock at night, so this wasn't getting out of school and getting out of classes. This was on their own personal time. So, I mean, there's a lot that I think we're doing as employers to really, and I know Tony does a lot of the similar type things as well, to really, get the young people into the organization and really then, use those individuals to really promote your business, because they go back to the school and they share their experience. So they'll talk to others about what a great experience they had at Husco. The work that they got to do was relevant, added real value to the business, and we continue to expand that. We continue to dive into more high school activities, continue to expand our open houses. These are ways to build credibility within the high school and college communities.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was just going to update Todd's numbers. So we went to 14 different schools, including colleges and high schools. We met with 1,300 students, and we hired 77 interns and co-ops. 30 maybe only in automotive, but between the two divisions and corporate roles, we had 77 interns and co-ops on us this year.
It's good to bring it back up.
It is amazing how many high school students and now even middle school students actually get a tour of our manufacturing plants. And I think that's pretty much in the last 10 years that it's really come to where the programs that we now have. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
This is a question. So one of the challenges, not only the evolution of the insurance industry in general, is the evolution of autonomous vehicles. I said, what challenges or opportunities does that present?
So the question is what challenges are there with autonomous vehicles? And what?
And opportunities.
And opportunities, yes.
Autonomous vehicles are a ways off. There's a lot, you may read in the media that they're imminent, and you certainly see things like vehicles like Tesla on the road, but that have these systems. But before they are mass produced, there's a ways to go in the technology. There's still a lot of challenges, and as you rightfully pointed out, the complexity of who's at fault when an autonomous vehicle ends up in some kind of an accident or kills somebody, or a vehicle has to make a decision between running somebody over or running off a cliff. There's a lot of complexity in that space. Opportunities are going to be the same to a large extent as what we have today, and that is autonomous vehicles are going to be they're going to either be gas powered, they're going to be hybrids, they're going to be battery electric, they're going to have lots of electromagnetic devices, they're going to have lots of actuators, they'll still have cooling systems. So I'm not worried about the opportunities for us, and I'm not worried about if more and more autonomous vehicles eventually find their way. I think what you will end up seeing in the not too distant future is geofenced areas where autonomous vehicles are going to be able to operate. Let's call it University of Wisconsin-Madison in a certain area, and they'll be allowed to have autonomous vehicles that will take students from one building to another or bring them around the campus. And then as that gets refined and gets and improved, then you'll see that continue to expand into cities and such. And it's exciting, right? I mean, there's that autonomous vehicles will save lives. There's no doubt about it, right? I mean, the accidents will fall considerably, but the accidents that do happen are going to be complicated, right, for insurance companies and for the people and individuals that are affected.
I've kind of read that autonomous vehicles would be able to be on the road relatively quickly if people would accept them. I can tell you that I know that I'm not ever going to be an early adopter of that. I figure my next car still has 150,000 miles to go on it before I consider it. So that's probably the biggest problem with autonomous vehicles, I think, is actually people accepting them. So, more questions? Probably have Mary?
Yeah, real quickly, are one of you finding an issue about workforce housing in Waukesha? This is a great place to live and work, but it's very expensive. Have you had to address housing at all with your employees?
So that was probably almost a planted question. So are you guys going to do workforce housing?
Yeah, I mean, you are absolutely right, Mary. It was actually on my list of points to make that. That certainly is a challenge, and I know that we've had this discussion in the past. The county executive has brought it up in Waukesha County Business Alliance meetings, and I think that it's certainly not being ignored. I suspect that Paul would love to grab a microphone and probably jump on that in a heartbeat. But it has to be addressed, right? And I certainly don't have a great answer for it, other than the problem's not going to be solved if developers are just going to continue to put $1 million condominiums up. That doesn't really help.
Not much to add. I agree. It's probably a problem that a lot of heads got to get together and try to figure out how to solve. I don't think it's an easy solution.
It's also tied in with transportation too. I mean, the two,
Yeah.
transportation and housing, pretty much every single manufacturer I talk to say, it's getting their employees to work, and if they live close by, that's even better. So I think that's pretty much all the time we have. I guess I want to make one final point, and for the city of Waukesha, I'm a huge supporter of manufacturing, and one of the reasons is that, one, it's our history, but two, about 10% of the land in the city of Waukesha is for manufacturing or manufacturing plants, but 32% of the city's payroll and 42% of all sales of products from the city of Waukesha is from manufacturers. Manufacturers are kind of the quiet portion of the city of Waukesha to a certain extent. You have the, when the big housing developments come in or the retail developments come in, they get a lot of press. A manufacturer doubles its plant capacity, and it's a story in the paper for one day. But the amount of jobs and the amount of income that come into the community, and just how it builds on itself is tremendous. I think this is Waukesha's history. We've always loved manufacturing. We've always supported manufacturing. And thank you both for being up here, providing some input. And with that, everyone enjoy your day. Thank you very much.